We're back to we're dancing. Here we go. Is that the cutest song? It makes me so happy every time.
It does.
I love it.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Caitlin King-Goldfinch.
I'm Han Hembry Bell.
We are Law Moms Out Loud. And as you know, we are here to help law moms grow as lawyers, moms, and people. And today, as per the usual, but especially today, we have a super duper extra special guest. And for those of you who are listening on the loudspeaker with your kiddos running around, you may want to stick your earbuds in because we're going to be talking about intimacy and exactly. It's going to be a good chat. So here with us today is Marla Mattenson. If you know anything about her, you're like, wow.
That's a real big land for a guest, ladies.
And she's got her fabulous rose-colored glasses on that I love. But Marla and her husband, Julian, are these amazing coaches that work with people to reach their full empowerment in life. But their special area of expertise is working with couples. And I can share that my husband, Josh, and I have been a part of their Legendary Lovers Play course now for 2 semesters. And it has been amazing, transformational for us. It's a weekly session with homework in between. It's a live session. And one of the best things about it, other than the amazing facilitation of Marla and Julian, is the community, the people that sign up to do something like that.
That's a certain sort.
It is. And we wanted to bring Marla to you guys to talk about all things intimacy, which will start getting right to it.
I'm going to interject here. So in case any of y'all law moms are a little bit like me, Kate just has no problem. Let's just have a show about intimacy and sex things and all this. And I'm like, okay, my East Texas a cotillion kind of self was like, well, that's an interesting topic, Katie, to do on the internet. So I'm sure I'm blushing if you could see me, and it makes me just smile big and feel a little bit, I don't know if embarrassed is the word, but yeah, probably, and just kind of itchy and a little cringy. So number one, I'm going to apologize in advance for being the like prude, stuffy person in the room, but also acknowledge that maybe some of my friends out there feel the same way, right? And so part of a big part of what we do at Law Moms Out Loud is show up. So I'm here to participate in the conversation. I'm probably going to be the person who's like, wait, excuse me, what? Like, I don't, y'all, huh? And we hope that anybody who's watching, I'm going to go ahead and say no question is too kind of basic. I will be, because they were talking about books, right? Because we're like, okay, what books are we going to talk about on the show? And we're talking about books like, oh, Hannah, do you know this? And I'm like, literally, I have no idea. I have no idea what you people are talking about. So anyway, I just bring that level of blushiness to this whole thing. So if you're watching and have a level of blushiness, you put your headphones in, and we'll be here.
Yeah,
we'll do it.
But I love your blushiness. I just want to interject and say, I love your blushiness. It's not common to talk about sex, to talk about intimacy out loud in the public in any way. So it's super normal to have a little blushiness, when we talk about this. So let's just see how it goes.
Yeah, okay. So here's how I want to start, Marla. I am in a Facebook group called Intimacy and Marriage for Women. And at the top of the group, there is a pinned poll. And it's, people select which one applies to them. And so I'm going to read you the different options. There's only 5 of them and the percentage of responses. And at this point, I think it's hundreds of women have responded to this poll. Number 1, sex is something I do only when I am truly in the mood. If I'm not in the mood, I don't do it. That's 18%.
Okay.
Number 2, sex, even when I'm not specifically in the mood, is a loving or caretaking thing that I'm happy or okay with doing. That's 50% of women. Number 3, since I'm never or rarely in the mood, I have sex as a duty for him. 8%. Number 4, I'm always in the mood. It's my man that needs convincing. 17%. And then there was one added that says, I'm almost always in the mood, and so is my partner. And that was 2%.
Now, keep in mind that like the people who are going to be in this group, what's the title of the group?
It's called Intimacy and Marriage for Women.
Yeah. So the like reporting sample is going to be a little bit, I would say those numbers skewed towards the sexier side of things.
Well, wow, that's even worse.
I know who's it. I think, Marla, don't you think that who would be, I didn't know that's even a group.
Yeah, I don't know what Facebook told me
about. I didn't even know that that's a thing. So I think
you're right. I think you're right, Hannah, because obviously anybody who's going to answer a questionnaire like that is already considering sex. They're thinking about it. They're wanting to, have a new experience maybe and get some freshness, into their relationship, into their marriage. So I think that it's really interesting. It's really interesting. And it's really aligned with what I know and what we know about being in the mood. That being in the mood is not something really that happens naturally for most people, to be honest. It's an intention, and it's your attention that you put on sex and sexuality and being sensual throughout your day by what you wear underneath your clothes, right? You can wear more sexy clothing undergarments, so you feel more sensual, so you activate more of your spiciness underneath, and then you'll find that you bring a different kind of energy to your relationship. If you take the time to put lotion on that has a nice scent that you enjoy, and you do it in a luxurious way in the morning, and you really decide, I love my body no matter what it looks like, no matter how it functions, no matter what it feels like. I'm so grateful to live in a body and to have a body that actually works. So instead of hating this part or that part, if we use our time as a way to connect and love ourselves, we're going to naturally have a little bit more, va-va-voom for our relationship. So, and then the idea that we're all supposed to be turned on at the same time in a relationship is just crazy. Because first of all, almost all the time, you're at different places in the day. Maybe you're thinking a lot and the other person has had a chance to relax. So now one person's in their head and the other person is ready to go. And also, if you're in a heterosexual relationship, women have a much longer turn-on runway than men. So it can take a woman up to 45 minutes to feel in the mood, to feel like, yeah, I'm relaxed, my mind is at rest, my heart is open, I feel like I want to receive you, and so to plant seeds throughout the day, the 45 minutes doesn't have to be consecutive.
Yeah, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Already. So let me just get this straight, what you're saying.
You got this, Hannah.
So 45 minutes, tell us what you mean. So like it's evening and it's 45 minutes, or 45 minutes if you add up all your lotion time, or like, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say, Marla?
45 minutes of saying, like it's saying, hey, 50% of women are saying they're not in the mood and they're doing it anyway, or they're doing it, by duty, right? Yeah. Out of duty. Well, I would question and I would wonder how each individual woman is thinking about sex and about the duty of it, because she could be using 10 minutes to say, I've had a really rough day. I do want to have sex. I do want to connect with you and have you have a release, and I'm totally not in the mood right this moment. So I'm going to take 10 minutes. I'm going to take a shower, let the hot water run on my body, roll my head around, like open up a little bit, try and relax, like let go of the day, light some candles. A lot of partners don't need all of that extra. Some people are like, I'm ready right now. But for most women, that's not the case. They're thinking a lot, especially those of us who have a career and children and other things going on. Sex is just not at the top of the list. So the idea is to intentionally put it on the top of the list, where you say, I'm going to spend some time every day intentionally being sensual and sexual with my partner. And it doesn't mean penetration sex. It can mean to redefine what sex actually is. Sex and intimacy have been, sort of interwoven as a thing together, and they're not. Intimacy does not equate sex. Intimacy is the ability to be both unguarded, meaning you lower your defenses, and receptive at the same time. So you can have financial intimacy. How unguarded are you around your finances? How receptive are you to somebody else's way of thinking about money, earning, saving, spending, investing, etc.? So intimacy, we need to take it out of the bedroom. It's not only for the bedroom, so the blushingness can calm down, right? And you can say intimacy is really a way of being. It's a way of being unguarded with your partner. And when you feel like you can be unguarded with your partner, you're more receptive to receiving them in playful ways, in uplifting ways, and contributing also to the uplift of their life.
Okay, but I'm not ready to leave the bedroom just yet. Because, okay, I just had an aha moment because in the Legendary Lovers Play Course, Marla, you once said it's our job to turn ourselves on. And I've been like, okay, you know, that didn't really click for me. But hearing you talk about this, the sensuality throughout the day, the lotion, the putting ourselves in a hot shower, relaxing, that's what you mean. Getting ourselves to the point of openness and receptivity is our own responsibility. Even saying it, I'm still like, it's because we're so, I think, as a culture, accustomed to saying it's our job in a partnership to turn each other on or to do what our partner needs to be turned on before we have sex.
Let's talk about this. This is a really important point. I'm super glad that you're pausing on this. So the idea that your own turn on, what turns you on, is your responsibility is pretty radical out there. A lot of women feel like it's their partner's job to turn them on. And what that does is it kind of makes you go ahead, turn me on. Well, it's not working. It's not working. It's not working. Try something else. There's a defensiveness about the turn on. And so the idea is if my turn on is my responsibility and I get to find out what does turn me on, what does make me relax more, what does bring me more into the sexual vibe, then I don't have to withhold that. I can share that with my partner and I can say, hey, here are 5 ways you can contribute to me feeling more turned on at times that you want to engage in sex. Because if you just go right for it, I'm probably not going to be turned on in that moment. So, you know, that it's a shared responsibility, and ultimately it really lands on each individual to be responsible for finding out what turns them on. And that's part of the delight of a relationship. It's like, ooh, that actually really worked. When you rubbed my low back, oh my gosh, it's like all of the thoughts in my head just like went out. I just went kind of gooey, you know?
What I think this one thing, I guess older, I don't know, whatever, that I get, that I come back around to, and I think especially for lawyer moms and just women in general, is what do I want?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
I ask this everybody we talk to. Eventually I'm going to get to that part of the question of, I think for most of us, we're so busy as women and with careers or homes to take care of and children, whatever, thinking about what everybody else wants and needs from us.
It's our training too.
Yep. And we're trained to serve. Mm-hmm. Like like if you go to Mother's Day cards, they're all going to say, my mom gave up everything from us. Or my mom doesn't. They don't say my mom was a fully awakened, alive woman who knew what she wanted. I'm sorry. The Hallmark doesn't make that one.
Those cards are coming next year.
Yay!
But, you know, I think that part, Marla, it gets to the heart of the matter. Because I think for so many of us, we have no clue. Like when you're saying that part, all the things you want, what turns you on, I was thinking to myself, I bet most of us don't know.
That's right.
Answer, except, you know, Zac Efron with his shirt off in a poster. Well, okay. We might could all pretty much agree. That's kind of, he's like a baby. He's older.
I think he's old enough now.
I was like, that was my example that came to my head.
Look, see, people are agreeing with you.
Yeah. So
you're totally nailing it right now, Hannah, because when we start to have the courage and the vulnerability to ask ourselves, what do I really want? What is important for me in my sexual expression? How do I want to engage in sex, you know, with my loving partner? when we start asking ourselves those questions, you can explore and you can experiment, and you start to feel more free and open and curious about what actually does turn me on. What parts of my body turn me on? I don't know if you two saw the Goop Lab on Netflix, but they had a series of, you know, basically intimacy and what turns you on. It was really fantastic. And, you know, physical touch it's not even required for some people to feel turned on. There's a whole energetic realm. Like if you're laying on the bed and let's just say you have your bras and panty on, okay? Because you're not ready for sex yet. And your partner just touches you very lightly on your skin from your shoulder down to your hands, both sides. And then goes up and touches your forehead a little bit and maybe scratches your scalp a little bit. And then goes down to your feet and just gently touches your lower legs and does little squeezies on your feet. Very gentle. That's it. And then maybe sprays some, you know, here I have rose water here. We always have rose water. Spray some rose water. You know?
We've entered the witchy portion of the show today.
Okay, let's start
portion.
Some questions.
The Woo Crew is in town.
Yeah, I've never heard that. Oh my God. Okay,
That's what we do over here. We're the Woo Crew.
That is coming into my vernacular today. All right.
I love it.
Get the twang at it, which
The
always makes it a
Woo
little bit better.
I like the twang in it. But do you see how this could start the turn on runway? And then maybe he whispers in your ear, I'm going to go do the dishes, babe. And I'll be back in 10 minutes. That's a turn on. Or I'm going to go put the kids to bed and I'll be back in, I have no idea how long. Try not to fall asleep. You know, like that you can use the playful daily tasks of your life to turn each other on. It's not that difficult. It's just we don't think about it. And then we think sex as a duty. We think about it as like, gosh, I know it's been too long since we've engaged in sex. So now I feel like I have to. And I don't really want to because it doesn't bring me joy to, you know, do it. So that happens sometimes. I mean, hormones happen and life happens. And sometimes people get sick and then the family member is ill. And, you know, there's all kinds of things that happen. And the thing is, we forget that we love our partners and we do want to be close to them. And so one of the greatest techniques that we ever learned and teach is called skin time. And Kate knows about this too. Skin time is you have an explicit agreement that you're not having sex. And you lay together in the bed nude and you set a timer, 15 minutes, no longer than a half an hour. And you put music on, maybe light some candles. And all you do is you lay next to each other, spooning one way and then try spooning the other way and try, you know, back to back and then do a plus sign where you're just naked and you'll giggle, you'll laugh, you'll snuggle, and you'll remember why you love each other. And then after the timer goes off, then you can decide, do we feel sexual? Do we not feel sexual? Do we want to continue this? You know, what do we want to do? But if we can just move a little closer to sex every day, just a little bit, where we're practicing non-sexual physical touch first, that will fuel and feed the women in ways that nourish, that we need to feel that turn on. And then we have access to, oh yeah, I want to do a little dance. How about you get in the shower, babe? I'm going to do a little dance outside of the shower nude and don't touch the dancer. So you can do whatever you want for yourself in the shower. And I'm going to be like all sensual and sexy out here, safe. And you're in there, touch whatever you want. Go ahead. It's your body. And, you know, I'll shimmy and shake for you. And we can both have fun. You can have your release. And I don't want to have sex tonight. But let's do something playful and fun that we both get to enjoy.
I just realized that the team at my law firm is probably all watching. So, hi, guys.
And I did say to the team, like, hey, show's on. And then I'm like, oh, well. But I want to say something to me that feels important here. And I think these are my themes I always go to, because I think one of the reasons we don't identify as women what we want is to say what you want takes bravery, because it is a brave act to say, I want this, because it shows a need and a deficit. And what if you're not able to get it?
Mm-hmm.
What if the other person isn't willing? Because I mean, look, you're talking, this is so, it's awesome. I was trying to think of the word, like cute. No, that's not it. It's its whole own thing that supposes a pretty high level of connectivity, support, openness, willingness, like good marriage threshold to start from, right?
Yeah.
And I think we need to acknowledge that a lot of marriages are not like that. Okay, A. So B, I think what makes difficult, at least if we name it, we can tame it, that for someone to say, I want this, I need this, I don't know, that sounds kind of good. You just lay on the bed and somebody goes and puts all the children to bed. And I mean, you know, I'm sure most moms are like, yeah. Like if I that, I'll do the other, sure. And anyway, but that piece to say, I want that, takes a lot of bravery to admit and then wait to see if you can get it. It's scary.
You're tapping into something really important here, Hannah. So I'm really glad you brought it in, because not only does it take bravery, and I'll talk about why it takes bravery, actually. First of all, to be able to say, I want this, takes a high level of what you're saying, awareness of what you even want. What's even more vulnerable is to say, hey, I haven't been fully enjoying our sexual life, and I wonder if you have. And I'd like to do something about it. And to be honest, I have no idea where to start. I don't even know what I like. I don't even know. I've been in
Marla.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You can follow us for sure. But even like the, you know, that quiz that you took, Kate, right? That's a great place to start too. There's so many resources. We can talk about all the resources too. The thing I want to touch on here is it's okay not to know. It's more than okay not to know what you like. Most of us are just taught to people please our partners so they're in pleasure, not us being in pleasure. It's so that they are in pleasure. And our needs for pleasure are really put on the back burner because we don't even know what brings us pleasure and what brings us to climax. You know, you can be orgasmic throughout a sexual experience without having an actual orgasm. That's another piece. So you can actually be in pleasure without having an orgasm as a woman.
No, Katie,
I did not say that, Katie. Oh my God. I told you, you're the leader. I'm not the talker today.
But you know, Hannah,
that's how I was going to go.
You brought up something really important here, which is why it takes bravery. It's because of the fear of rejection. The fear of rejection is a real thing. It's been researched. The fear of rejection is so real that we actually feel it in our physical bodies when we experience rejection. That, you know, even the idea of being rejected, it hurts our heart. It hurts our belly. It feels like you got punched in the gut.
Shoulder, neck.
Exactly. It's literally physical. So we have a physical reaction that's unpleasant when we're rejected. This is why sales are difficult for people, because if you're going to sell and you're basically putting yourself out there to be vulnerable, to have somebody say no. And this is why in relationship, we teach when you make a request, it's really important that you're willing to hear a yes, a no, or an I'm not sure right now. Because if you're not willing to hear those responses, then you're actually demanding. You're not actually making a request. You're making a demand that requires a yes. And that is undermining trust in a relationship.
You need to say that again.
Yeah.
Say that part again.
I know, it's kind of a brain twister a little bit. So if you make a request of your partner, if you're willing to hear a yes from them, a no, or an I'm not sure or not right now, then you're really willing to hear the truth from your partner. And if you're asking something where you're not going to tolerate a no, like they have to say yes, or there's going to be a punishment, a consequence, a reverberation in some way back on them, you're basically actually making a demand. And the demand requires a yes, and the yes is a people-pleasing yes. And the people-pleasing yes is not the truth. It's a lie. People pleasing is just the highest form of lying. Lying and saying what you think they want to hear rather than actually saying what's true for you. Is this uncomfortable?
Well, it's like, okay, but what if you really do have a non-negotiable demand?
Then don't state it as a question.
No,
State it as,
be
hey,
honest.
Has to be.
Yeah, be honest. Hey, I have a statement/demand that I really need you to do, and I need you to do it today. Are you available to do that?
Well, and
That's the question.
I think that most women that I've known now, as my awkward blushiness might convey, I'm not probably a part of all of these conversations, but it seems to me with people that most women I know live in that space in their marriage, the demand part, right? Like, I mean, what we're told, I mean, here's what, you know, a man needs to have sex every 3 days to, I don't know, biology. Someone told me that at some point, that a man needs to have sex every 3 days, biology, or he's going to cheat on you and leave you. That's what somebody told me along the way. And so somehow in my side, I mean, not saying that I apply this, but I'm just saying somewhere inside of my mind lives this idea that if you do not do what the man needs on this regular schedule, just science, he's going to get it someplace else and leave you. And right, I think it's like a duty thing for most women, because the men demand, hey, and facts, I think there's the biology facts. You can feel the aggression building. You can feel the whatever in your partner. If it's, you know, whatever their kind of, not circadian rhythm, but like maybe a sexual rhythm, I don't know, is, you can feel it building, and you'd better or else. And so I think for most women, that's how I've heard them talk about it in the demand transaction. So do you think, I mean, how do people go from that? Like sort of recognizing their own biology. Is it a biological, you know, whatever you call that, biological need, want, but then respecting the different biological need, want of their partner?
Yeah, that's
right. Yeah. Let's address this. This is a really good topic here. So the first thing is what you're actually talking about is inviting in a conversation, because every couple is unique. And every couple goes through cycles and waves of when they feel sexual and when they don't. And each partner in the relationship has their own cycles. So the first thing to do is to actually just have a fun conversation over dinner or on a walk where it's just relaxed, and you just ask your partner, hey, I don't think we've ever talked about this. How often do you need to have sex or have a release? I'm just curious, you know, like in my mind, I feel like it's every 3 days or once a week, or, you know, every day if you have the opportunity, but I don't even know how you feel. How often do you want to have sex or have a release? And then be quiet and listen to what they're saying, and let them talk and let them ponder for a moment. Maybe they don't say anything right away. Don't just jump in and go, oh, never mind. I mean, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable or anything. Just let the silence be there.
How, you know, for a thing that drives so much of society and our relationships and everything. I mean, I was just thinking about that.
We don't talk about it.
We don't talk, like in marriages, you will literally talk more about what you're going to get a kid, somebody else's kid around the corner that you don't like, for their birthday on Saturday, and how that present's going to get bought, than you talk about this. Okay. What is that?
But what is
that's called the back burner.
Yeah.
That's the back burner, because you think your relationship is always going to be there. But when you're engaging in sex from a place of fear, which is actually what you're talking about, is I have to do this, even if I want to. In my mind, I still have to do this. Otherwise, he's going to potentially want to go cheat. And there is some reality to that, which is if your needs are not mutually being met in a relationship, the idea of somebody looking elsewhere for that, if you're not willing to talk about these things, is high. So it's not like you're crazy for thinking that or saying that. It's just the idea is it's not that difficult to open up this conversation, even if it's uncomfortable. You have sex. Why can't you talk about it?
So what was your step 2? Sorry.
Well, step 2 is, okay, so you ask your partner and you just wait for them to respond. And what if they say every day, but you are a once a week person? Then what?
Cool. Guess what? We get to get super creative to make sure your needs are being met. I feel like I probably haven't been meeting your needs since you want it every day, and I'm not down for that. We're in a monogamous marriage or relationship, so we're not going elsewhere for it either. So let's get creative. Let's find ways where you can have a release every day, and maybe I'm involved and maybe I'm not. Just because it doesn't have to be sex. And just because they want it every day doesn't mean they get it.
This is pretty mind-blowing.
It's a conversation. And honestly, I'm glad it's mind-blowing, because I think that on some level, as women, we have really bowed down to our men's needs and their sexual drive and sexual desires and sexual needs. And that's wonderful. I love that aspect of women who is like, yeah, bow down to that. Let's make sure they're taken care of. We want to make sure our men are happy and taken care of. And at the same time, not at the sacrifice of us. And all it is a little more creativity. That's all that's needed. Conversation and creativity. That's what you need, in order to really collaborate on how are your mutual sexual needs going to get met. And it's uncomfortable and weird and awkward at the beginning. So let that be there. And if you have the courage to be vulnerable enough to have these conversations and ask these questions of each other and do it in a playful, delightful way, then watch how your relationship flourishes.
Okay, I'm about to take us down another path that's related, but we got to talk about what's going on in the country, because if historically women have bowed down to their men's needs, and that's great and all of that, there is an uprising happening. There is a cauldron of fury that is happening amongst us women. And I'm certain that that's happening in a lot of our homes too. And so I'm sure you've thought about this, Marla, how can we as women sort of, or should we even separate what's going on out there in the world and how fucking pissed off we are about it with what's going on at home?
It's one of the great challenges right now, because I was just, Julian asked me the other day. Julian's my love, life, and business partner. By the way, we're actually not married. We make the choice to be together every day. I just wanted to be clear on that.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. He asked me the other day after, the decision on Roe v. Wade came down, if I was bringing the aggression and negativity from that into our relationship. And it really made me pause. And he was right. I was, because it is very challenging to separate, because it's easy for a man to be able to say, this isn't a big deal, when they don't have any personal experience with it. Like, for example, a long time ago, Julian and I had a big conversation about how, in general, in the West, let's just talk about in the Western world, most women, I would venture to say all women, when they're walking around out in public, are always on guard. They're always aware of their surroundings. We're always aware. I see you both nodding your head. Yes. We're always aware of like who's around. We've been taught to carry our keys a certain way in case somebody attacks us. Women walking around are at risk just by being a woman. And Julian, he's 6'1". He's a big dude. He's got a beard. He looks intimidating, even though he's a total teddy bear. But he didn't even realize that I and pretty much all women experience that. And it was really mind-opening for him. And so I'm really glad we're talking about this, because I think one of the biggest issues right now with Roe v. Wade, with this backlash, with the fire that's going on in all of us, is that we're so polarized, and we're not bridging this conversation where everybody gets to have a voice, because the voices on like the other side are so intolerable. It's like they don't want to hear what we have to say, and we don't want to hear what they have to say, because we all sound crazy to each other. So at some point we all need to practice being the bridge where you literally can have your hand out for, okay, if this person is a Roe v. Wade proponent, why? What are the reasons why? And see if we can be logical about it. And if this is someone who's against the Roe v. Wade being as part of our constitutional rights, why? What is true for them? What is the real underlying? And I want to say, I have been really actively looking at that side, because to me, it seems so obvious that women need to have the right to choose whatever is happening in their body. And it's hard for me to understand. So I've made a big effort to actually speak with people who are on the other side of that argument and get to know what some of their reasonings are.
That was our show last week. We talked about just that, and trying to bring a level of listening and compassion to the conversation. Because my point is always that no one's changing their mind when you're screaming at them how wrong they are. And I think in this, I wish I don't even know how to do multimedia on this thing, but like there was this funny meme where or like TikTok, of course I don't see it on actual TikTok, like Instagram, like all the old people. And where the guy was like, like this, like thinking about asking my wife, what should we do for dinner when Dobbs came out today?
I saw that one.
You know, and I think it's this thing, ladies, look, because I think the fire breather part of us, that righteous rage, nothing feels more justified than righteous indignation. Pissed off because you're right? Nothing feels more like step to me, bro, than that. But we can get down a path where we walk around pissed off, and that permeates. That's what we were talking about even before we started. Like, I can go to that place, and there is some hellfire and things to burn down and come from that, but it's not a full expression of myself, because I don't feel only fiery, burn it down. I have a soft, feathery, feminine peace. And I think in our own homes, at least what I would think is that we can maybe unite together in righteous indignation outward. But like most of us, for the partners that we're with, we're on the same team. They mostly think the same way. So maybe there's a space to try to be a little more feathery lightness with them and then maybe externally facing righteous indignation to do something or something. Yeah. I don't know. For me, it's the integration. I don't want to walk around pissed off all the time.
No. And I think that one of the things you're pointing to is whenever you feel right about something, that's always one side of the story. And if we can just bring our logic in, if you feel right about or righteous about something, and you can be in your relationship, you feel right about how often you want to have sex, or maybe your partner feels right about how often they want to have sex. Well, the other side of it isn't wrong. The other side of it is just another perspective. And so if we can open our hearts to whenever you feel really right about something, to also consider there's another side that's equal and opposite, that has their own way of thinking. And if we can imagine both of those at the same time, that's when we can increase our capacity to receive, or increase our capacity to be with challenging situations, and activate our frontal lobe of logic and executive decision-making so that we can make good choices and not just come from emotion. And I think that in relationship, we can practice that at home. So for example, when I feel right about, something I think Julian should be doing, I want to always ask myself, well, what's his preference? What does he want? I know what I want, and I feel right about it, and I feel righteous about it. And I chose to be with this partner. So this is the duality of, wow, I really want what I want, and I also want him to have what he wants.
Well, I think we were talking about this book Kate and I in our group are doing as part of this study, The Go-Giver Marriage by the Manns, M-A-N-N. I don't know if you can see it. Okay.
John David Mann and Anna Gabrielle Mann, and they're awesome.
It's awesome. So we've had the opportunity to talk with these authors. And what you just talked about was this concept of allow that they talk about. So there are 5 different things that they say in a good marriage that you do. And this idea of allow, I think, is what you're talking about. It's this idea, and it helps me to think about in terms of substance and preference. I like that you said that word preference. Is there matters of substance about a person, right? Like that is core to who they are. That I think the Manns, and I'm sorry if you see this and this is not how you would say it, but like this idea of we allow and embrace and celebrate who someone is and don't try to change their core in the partner. And women, we are doers. We are like butt kickers. We are ready. And we want to change this shitty part of you, right? But they would say, allow them to do that. But then there's a point at which, right, of what you're talking about, sort of a preference and negotiation point where allowing them to be who they are, but maintaining our self-respect and boundary of who we are. And that where those 2 substantive things meet is a negotiation point, I think they said, which helped. And I think some of the parts, like in this context, we're talking about like allow would be this person biologically feels, believes, thinks, does, need sex every day. Okay, I'm going to allow that. I'm not going to change your need. I, for instance, in this story would say, oh, once a week is fine. Okay, well, those 2, we can both be allowed to be that. But where those 2 meet up against each other is our negotiation point. So maybe some of the things you're talking about in this world are the negotiation points of like how to accomplish that without trying to change it, maybe?
Yeah, exactly. It's the collaboration, I mean, negotiation implies a little bit more of I have to give up some things in order to have my needs met. And collaboration is we want to both work together to make sure everybody's needs are met. Like, for example, and let's just jump into Roe v. Wade, what's happened is it's now in the state's hands currently. And so really all of our efforts really need to be going towards fortifying the state's requirements and safety mechanisms and availability and education and really working on that, because there's other people who are already working on, overturning something at a national level. But in the meantime, like, what are we doing to make sure that our states are fully aware and protected and that everybody in the states knows, hey, here's what's available, because it's not just about abortion, right? It's about reproductive rights. It's about the right to contraception. It's about the right to be able to start a family when you want to or not start a family when you don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, and we live in good
Texas.
Old Republic of Texas, where they're already preparing to propose legislation in the next session that would criminalize interstate travel to access abortion services.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about, we have a special show tomorrow.
Yeah.
About, for Texas, I mean, particular and like potential criminal implications of Roe. So that's going to happen at 11 Central tomorrow?
Yeah, at 11 tomorrow. It's going to be good. And bring your questions to that. But I just have to say, I'm not personally where Hannah and Marla are. Like, I don't have a kumbaya bridge built within me. And I feel drawn to say something to any men who are watching, that we women are hurting right now. We are feeling scared and we're feeling a lot of pain, and we need your support and your vocal support. It's not enough to just silently be opposed to the Dobbs decision. What we really need from you in the home is to talk about it, to acknowledge it, to tell us that you understand we might be feeling a certain way. We need you to be talking about it on social media and taking an active role in fighting alongside us for our rights. Don't leave this to the women, please. And then in the meantime, I'll be working on my bridge.
Yeah, bridge, shiny bridge. Rainbow. Yeah. There's going to be a rainbow bridge with sparkles.
Yeah.
I love it. And, it's interesting though, right? We're asking men to speak up, which is appropriate. And it's so uncomfortable for people in general to talk about these issues at all. I mean, look, this whole conversation we're talking about sex. Well, the only reason to have an abortion is because you had sex. So let's talk about sex. Let's talk about what it is, what it isn't, how to redefine it, to not have penetrative sex and instead enjoy the sensuality of our bodies and really have your sexual experience be a little bit more around pleasure for both partners rather than just, to get off, or to have a release. Because women in general really need to feel nourished and nurtured through the sexual experience. And one of the things, on a little side note here, one of the things that we teach in our home study course and in our live courses is this idea of post play. So let's say whenever you do have sex, that instead of just rolling over and, getting a towel or getting cleaned up or whatever, or going to sleep, that you spend at least 1 minute, just 1 minute, up to 10 minutes or an hour, however you want, but at least 1 minute of just non-sexual physical touch. Touch your partner's forehead, put your hand on their heart, snuggle with them, rub their arms and legs. Post play sets up the yes for the next sexual experience, right? So because when the end comes, when the release has happened and it's clear that the sexual experience is over for now until the next time, if that's the last memory you have in your mind, then you probably are not going to feel super excited about the next experience unless you have the end be a little more nourishing, a little more nurturing and kind and expressive of the love that's between the two of you. So 1 minute of post play, and you're going to see, even just whispering, "I love you so much. I'm so glad we could be physical today. This felt really good." Just a little bit of nourishing is going to go a long way.
Well, I think even just these little tidbits today are really shift possible, right? That there's just shining light. And even as we've talked, I've sort of eased into it, right? It's like just getting some of our muscles. It's like a little bit awkward, just diving in and saying some of the things. Now, I know we were talking about before, and I don't want to miss this. Some books that you would recommend, Marla, for people who maybe are not ready to have conversations with anybody else but their own mind. So maybe they could read some things you suggest for this intimacy cultivation.
Yes, I'm so glad you asked. So I have this book here. If I can get in the screen properly. Am I? Okay, yeah. Intimacy, yes. Trusting oneself and the other. This book is a great book, and it has these little grayed out squares, and you can literally read the book to each other. This is something that we recommend, is you just read one page to each other out loud, and then you talk about it and you say, do you agree or do you disagree? How do you feel about this? So now you have a third party being the thing you can point to say, I don't like that part, or I don't agree with that, or that feels
good. Bad cop.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now this is the third party, instead of you having a need or desire, like, I really want you to understand this concept. Instead, that's the allowing that you were talking about from that book, The Go-Giver Marriage. A next book is called The Magdalene Manuscript, The Alchemies of Horus and the Sex Magic of Isis. Okay, so don't get nervous.
I'm not. You with the Woo crew showed up. Woo!
The Woo crew is here. So what this is honestly, this is the ancient techniques of Tantra and internal alchemy, and how to basically have your own body bring the energy up from your sexual centers, up, all the way up out your head. And this is a practice. This is like an ancient textbook. So this used to be taught. This used to be taught in ancient days. And so this is a real journey. And there's it talks about manuscripts and then some real like how-tos. It's really fascinating.
And then these in the comments, right?
Yeah, they're up on the screen too, so y'all can see.
Oh, good. And then here's the last one I wanted to share, is this book by Byron Katie, Loving What Is. And Byron Katie is this woman who had a spontaneous awareness. She was very negative. She was depressed. She had all kinds of issues. And then she had a spontaneous awareness that loving what is and not wanting to change it at all was the pathway through. And she's never gone back. And she asks 4 questions. She has YouTube channels about it. You know, is this true? Is the way I'm thinking, is this true? How do I know it's true? And then she has a whole process around like circling it around and asking the opposite question. It's really a beautiful process, and it's very objective. And that's one of the reasons I like it. This is why I love Law Moms Out Loud, because the two of you are both playful and also objective and logical, and you bring your fire and your fancy. And I love that.
Well, Law Moms Out Loud loves Marla.
Yes, big fan. And I mean, the book, we're both a couple of book nerds over here. So I can already feel Katie's fingers trying to get to her phone to add it to her Amazon cart. Woo, woo, go. So, Marla, we would be remiss. Okay, so we can read these books and all that, but how there are going to be people watching this who are thinking to themselves, that lady with the rose-colored glasses, and she says words I've only ever whispered. Just like, what can you personally, or through your business, or people who work for you or whatever, how can people connect and sit at your feet?
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you. Yeah, one way to do that is on Instagram. So also old school. Instagram at The Intimacy Experts is our handle, and we share a lot of really great information on there. Also on Facebook here. And on Instagram, you'll see in our link tree, we have some really great resources there. And one of them is this concept called the redo. And the redo is you never have to worry about making a mistake ever again, because you can always ask for a redo in your relationship, with your children, with your family and friends. Because when we don't show up as our best selves, you know, usually we're just kind of like, I'm so sorry. And then you kind of maybe do it again. But with the redo, you actually go back and you rewire the situation and you reenact the same scenario, but this time with your open heart and your best self.
Ooh,
so good.
This is new to me. I need to go to the Instagram stat. I love that. A redo.
Yeah,
is that where the reset comes from? Is that a Marla thing?
No.
Okay, a reset.
Or maybe it was. Maybe
is that you? The reset? Do a reset?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the redo absolutely does a reset, but we don't really use that language.
Because real quick, Katie, what's a reset?
I don't remember. I was thinking maybe I was trying to tell you about a redo and I used the wrong word.
Oh, we're like well, because Kate sometimes will talk about we need a reset when there's been some sort of like a conflict issue.
Oh, that's a Gottman thing. Repair.
A repair. Oh, a repair. Reset. Lots of re-in. Okay.
So the redo is a type of repair. It's the type of repair that literally, when you go back and you think, oh gosh, you know, I'm still feeling bad about that one thing I did, how I showed up with my sweetheart. I still think about it. I wish I didn't do that. You know, those are the things, even 10 years later, you can go back and say, hey, babe, would you be willing to redo this situation with me so I can show up as my better self? Because then what happens is, instead of remembering the ugliness at the end and feeling bad about it, you can actually remember, yeah, that whole thing happened and it didn't feel good. And then we did the redo. And then at the end, we both showed up as our best selves. And that's the memory that takes you into the future. And so you don't have that heavy weight laying on you. And you could do it in the moment too. As soon as you realize, you're like, oh, I didn't say that with the kindest tone. May I have a restart on that? And I'll do a redo real quick, right? You can get playful with it. And then also on our link tree, we have a home study course called the Lover's Play course. Kate mentioned it a little bit, and it's fully DIY. It's got amazing resources in there. It has a couples yoga which is super fun that our friends Kaylee and Ben made specifically for us. And an inspiration list of non-sexual playful things to do and sexual playful things to do and to explore. And it's super wonderful program. And then we have a live version of it where twice a year, we take couples through an 8-week deep dive. So the fall, October is typically when we start for 8 weeks. The fall, we do time bending. So how do you bend time? How do you collapse time? How do you either lengthen the amount of time that you're in a lovely situation with your sweetheart, or how do you shorten the amount of time that you're dealing with an issue you don't want to deal with that long? So time bending. Yes.
Wait a second. So there's a course, 8 weeks, where you talk about how to bend time to get through things faster or to slow things down.
Correct. It's awesome. It's super.
Is that tell me, okay, sorry. I'm like, I'd like to go to the FAQs now. So that's like, do you be the teacher and a professor of it? Like it's live, or it's a class, it's
live,
a webinar? It's
live. Yeah, it's a live.
All of that. I'm like, oh, you've got my attention now.
It's really cool. Josh and I have done it twice, and we will forever do it as long as Marla and Julian are doing this. We will be there. So
we run it twice a year. So we do time bending in the fall because we all want to like optimize our time. It's really for busy people. You know, it's for entrepreneurs and busy people. So because we want to optimize our time. And then in the spring, we do what we call fire bending. And fire bending is taking all that inner negativity, harnessing the power of it, of your own inner negativity, transmuting it inside of you, and then bringing that energy to uplift or have a positive experience in your relationship. So fire bending is this beautiful way.
I am sold. Sign me up. Click
we'd love to have you. It's so fun. And honestly, everybody who's in that group, you know, we take a lot of care and consideration with the people who show up because we are very dedicated. We actually believe that when couples behind the scenes are really practicing being kind and loving and being their playful, joyous selves, that really the potential for war on earth to be completely dissolved is not only possible, it's inevitable.
Yeah, if couples are not at war, the world won't be at war.
That's right. That's right. If we can do it behind the scenes in our own home and we come out of war, internal war with ourselves, inner violence with our own thoughts, and then outer violence with our words, our actions, right? If we can do that for real behind the scenes in our homes, then we can do it out in the world in our communities, because the hardest place to do it is within yourself and with your partner. Because they're so easy. They're such an easy target, you know, because they're with you all the time. And they're kind of always going to be there, you know, in a way. This is kind of how we think, but that's not always true, right? So we want to nourish our relationships, and we want to come out of the habit pattern of negativity without people pleasing, without yes deering, without pretending like everything is fine, actually getting to the root of the issues and being willing to look directly at them, because they're there anyway. They're there anyway.
Right. No, I'm just feeling that like, ooh, that can, like, I'm going to use a church word, that conviction, right? For a minute, of the willing to do the awkward, hard combo work at home is number one, essential. Number two, where we practice and we don't die. So we tried that hard thing. We were not dead. We tell our brain, you don't have to fight or flight. If you show up as yourself, it's going to be okay. Brain, we're training that to then be that bridge and be that other, bring that forward, and just to sort of ignore it and like, oh, it's fine because I'm, you know, this person I'm married to, they're not going anywhere, you know, it's going to be fine. But it's our responsibility.
Yep. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And in the home study course and in the 8-week programs, we talk about fight, flight, and freeze. And we talk about it as a biological mechanism of safety that is just a human experience that we start reacting from. But actually, when we can allow the chemicals in our brains to have the time to unbind, then we have our thought process available again. And in the meantime, we don't have expressions of negativity while the chemicals are bound, because the only, you know, like bubble of words you have available when you're in fight, flight, or freeze, none of them are kind. They're all ugly. None of them are loving. You don't have a need for empathy when you're activated in fight, flight, or freeze. There's no need for it, right? The only need you have is get out of here, fight my way out, or like blend into the woodwork and pretend like everything is fine.
I just had an idea. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Kate knows that's my cue. Ooh, 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 ooh.
It's usually good, whatever comes after that.
Marla, and we can talk more about this offline, but I think you need to offer a course for law moms where us law moms can show up as a group and learn from you things that are unique to us. Let's talk about that. I think we should do it.
I have so many women lawyers in my field. I love, my dad's a lawyer. I love lawyers. I love women lawyers. They are fierce and formidable. And I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
Hey, you ladies and law moms and law mom adjacent, y'all comment that you want this. And we'll start a convo. We're going to get our group. You know, some of y'all are in our group, and the group has been kind of quiet, but we're working on that. And let's try to get something cooking where we can do our own. We can call it some other kind of, apparently bender is a thing, like mom bender. I don't know what we're going to call it, but time bender, fire bender. We'll come up with some other bender. we probably will not go on a bender. But
yeah, I was confused with the twang. I didn't know you were saying bender.
What do you think I was saying? Oh my God. When I was in college, I'd say, y'all want to go get some ice cream? And they were like, what did you say? Some ice cream? That's what I thought I was saying.
One of my favorite Hannah is when she said, "You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd."
You can't roller skate in the buffalo herd.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah. So okay. Well, I just got shiver chill about that idea. So I think that's how I know it has some legs. So Marla, we'll talk with you offline. I think we absolutely should do that. And I know all of our people would want to sign up. Let's talk to her about the retreat.
Okay, awesome. We
have lots of things. So, okay, sorry, everyone. We just had a little planning meeting with y'all. Marla, I am honored. I've heard so much about you. Like I said.
Gold stars.
Gold stars. Okay, quick, gold stars. Yeah. So at the end of each week, we try to give credit where credit is due. Sometimes the credit is worth about a nickel. Sometimes it's worth about a gajillion dollars. So gold stars this week. Kate, I think you're going to start us off with gold star as a lawyer.
As a lawyer, I got a gold star this week because a bunch of stuff happened in the immigration sphere, including a really tragic story of migrants dying in the back of a truck. And Greg Abbott tweeted that the reason that happened was because of Biden's border policies. And I did a bunch of media interviews about his tweet, and I told the truth, and I called him a liar on the news.
Go. Thank you for doing that for all of us.
Amazing.
All right, Marla, I think you had a gold star as a mom this week.
Yes. So I am a stepmama to an amazing, almost 13-year-old. And my gold star is that I sent her off with her mama. They went to Hawaii this week. And when they came back to the house for a minute to grab something, and when they were back in their car, I said, "I love you both so much. Have a great time." And it's really true. I really do love both of them so much. And that is a huge win. So
really yes. So my day job, when I'm not podcasting or whatever it is that we're doing, I'm a family lawyer, and may we all learn from that. So I'm going to round us out with the gold star for people. This week, I really recommitted to being present in my every moment, because I've said it probably on here before. The most influential book in my entire life is Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. It sort of started my whole journey in the woo crew. I've totally taken it. The woo crew world. And I recommitted and am doing everything I can to try to live in each moment. Wherever you are, be all there. The idea. Because when your mind's occupied with later, future, present, all these other things, you're not experiencing what's actually in front of you. All we ever really have is now, but we're usually living in yesterday or tomorrow. So recommitted to that and have been doing my best to practice it.
Gold star.
We'll give you a gold star, Marla.
I receive it.
You get a very big, we all get, actually, this is really big.
I need to get one of those. That is cool.
Is that a bubble?
It's actually little ribbon strings.
Oh, we're going to need that Amazon link for sure.
That's
what we can get those and we'll award them. Okay. All right. So it's been awesome. I hope you're going to come back as a guest. This has been if not my favorite show, very, very top. So
Yes.
thank
Yay,
you, Marla.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
For being
Okay.
here.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.